The Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom dripped with old money and new ambition. Crystal chandeliers threw fractured light across faces Maya Williams had studied in Forbes and Bloomberg for months. She tugged at the grey cardigan covering her deliberately frumpy dress, adjusting the synthetic wig styled into a conservative bun. The fabric hung loose where it should have fit, hiding everything that mattered. She dressed to disappear. Tonight, that was the plan. Champagne? A server appeared at her elbow. Water, please. Maya kept her voice soft, unmemorable. Across the room, Dominic Ashford held court near the bar, surrounded by men in $10,000 suits and women who looked like they'd stepped off runways. His laugh carried sharp, confident, the sound of someone who'd never questioned whether he belonged. Maya moved closer, notebook tucked in her oversized purse. Just another consultant, just another forgettable face in a forgettable dress. She reached the bar as Dominic turned. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second. His gaze swept over her grey dress, sensible shoes, the careful blankness she'd perfected, and dismissed her just as quickly. They let anyone in these days. His voice pitched just loud enough for his circle to hear. Forgettable dress for a forgettable woman. The men around him chuckled. One of the models, blonde, impossibly thin, pressed her hand to her mouth, eyes dancing with malicious amusement. Heat crawled up Maya's neck. 50 industry leaders within earshot, 50 witnesses to her humiliation. She felt their glances, some pitying, most indifferent. Just another woman put in her place. Maya's fingers tightened on her water glass. She smiled, small, tight. The smile she'd learned to wear when the world reminded her of her worth. He has no idea who I am, she thought. Good. Let's keep it that way. For now. 3 weeks earlier, Maya's sister Diana had leaned across their father's hospital bed, voice low and urgent. Dominic Ashford is a problem. Diana Williams didn't waste words. As current CEO of Williams International, she'd learned efficiency from their father, who lay unconscious between them, machines monitoring his second stroke in 6 months. His company's been undercutting our resort acquisitions in Southeast Asia. He's ruthless, Maya. Absolutely ruthless. I know. Maya had done her research. Ashford Luxury Properties, the scrappy competitor that had risen from nothing in 8 years to challenge the Williams empire their grandfather had built over 50. Self-made billionaire. Former foster kid. The business press loved his rags-to-riches story almost as much as they loved his razor-sharp deal-making. The Bali property, Diana continued. If he secures it, he'll have the foothold he needs to expand throughout Indonesia. It'll cost us millions in lost market share. So we outbid him. It's not for sale. Not directly. Diana's perfectly manicured nails drummed against the bed rail. But there's a charity auction next month. Exclusive access to the resort, direct line to the owners. Whoever wins that package gets first right of refusal on any future sale. Maya watched her father's chest rise and fall with mechanical precision. The doctors said he had months, maybe a year. After that, the company would be hers and Diana's, their legacy, their responsibility. You want me at that auction, Maya said. I want you undercover. You've been consulting for Morrison and Associates for what? 6 months now? Perfect cover. Go to the gala, observe Ashford, figure out his weaknesses. Diana's smile was shark-like. And if you happen to win that Bali package, even better. So Maya had gone to the gala in her consultant costume, the armor she'd worn since the incident 2 years ago, when her ex had leaked intimate photos and the business world had suddenly seen her as a body instead of a brain. She'd learned her lesson. Cover up. Blend in. Let them underestimate you. She just hadn't expected it to sting quite so much. Now, standing at the Plaza bar with Dominic's mockery still echoing, Maya studied her target. He was taller than she'd expected, broader through the shoulders. His tuxedo fit like it had been grown on him. Dark hair, swept back from a face that magazines called aristocratic and devastating. But it was his eyes that caught her ice blue, sharp, missing nothing, except they'd missed her completely. The Bali package is lot 17, someone said near Dominic. You need it. I'll get it. Dominic's voice carried absolute certainty. Stone's been circling, trying to figure out my next move. He won't see Barley coming. Derek Stone. Maya filed the name away. Another competitor. Another variable. She watched Dominic work the room, noting everything. The way his smile never quite reached his eyes. How his shoulders tensed whenever someone mentioned quarterly reports. The expensive watch that he checked compulsively, as if he were running out of time. He looked like a man holding on to control by his fingernails. Good, Maya thought. Desperate men make mistakes. What Dominic Ashford didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the frumpy consultant in the grey dress held his company's future in her hands. Morrison and Associates had been hired to evaluate a potential merger that would devastate Ashford Properties. Maya's recommendation would determine whether Williams International swooped in to acquire his main competitor, effectively boxing him out of every major market. She'd been planning to recommend against the acquisition. Dominic was scrappy but smart, and there was room enough for competition. Besides, hostile takeovers were messy, but that was before he'd called her forgettable. Careful. A voice at Dominic's elbow made him turn. Lucas Martinez, his COO and closest thing to family, held 2 tumblers of whiskey. Your predator face is showing. Dominic accepted the drink. I'm networking. You're hunting. Lucas glanced across the room. And that woman you just insulted? I'd be careful with that one. What woman? Exactly my point. Lucas sipped his whiskey. You didn't even look at her properly. Grey dress, corner table. You called her forgettable. Dominic waved it off. She is forgettable. Probably someone's assistant. Maybe. But Lucas's expression suggested otherwise. Or maybe you just made the kind of enemy you can't afford right now. Stones circling. The board's restless. And you need that Barley deal to go through. The last thing you need is to alienate someone who might actually matter. She doesn't matter. Dominic drained his whiskey. Trust me, I know who matters in this room, and she's nobody. Lucas studied him for a long moment. You know what your problem is. You think you can tell a person's value in 5 seconds. Sometimes, Dom, the most dangerous people are the ones you never see coming. But Dominic had already moved on, working his way toward the auction area where Lot 17 waited. The Barley package, his future. Everything he'd built depended on expansion, and Stone was trying to cut him off at every turn. This resort would change everything. He didn't notice the woman in the grey dress watching him from across the room, a small smile playing at her lips. The auction began at 9. Maya positioned herself in the back, anonymous paddle number 47 resting in her lap. She watched Dominic near the front, surrounded by his entourage, radiating confidence. Lot 17 came up 20 minutes in. Exclusive 3-night package at the Semero Resort in Bali, the auctioneer announced. Including private dinner with the ownership group and first consideration on any future acquisition opportunities. We'll start the bidding at $100,000. Dominic's paddle went up immediately. 250,000. Aggressive. Maya smiled. The bidding climbed quickly. 300,000, 350, 400. One by one, competitors dropped out. At 450,000, only Dominic remained. 450,000 once, the auctioneer called. Twice, Maya's paddle lifted. 500,000. The room shifted. Heads turned. Dominic twisted in his seat, scanning for the bidder. But Maya held her paddle low. Number obscured. 500,000, the auctioneer confirmed. Do I hear 550? Dominic's jaw tightened. 550,000. 600,000. Maya didn't hesitate. Silence fell. 600,000 for a 3-night resort package was insane. Everyone knew it. But everyone also knew that the real value lay in that first consideration clause. Dominic's face had gone white. His knuckles stood out against his tuxedo as he gripped his paddle. Lucas leaned in, whispering urgently. But Dominic shook him off. 600,000 once, the auctioneer said. Twice. Dominic's paddle stayed down. He couldn't go higher, not without raising questions with his board about expenditures. Sold. To paddle number 47 for $600,000. Maya stood, gathering her purse. As she moved toward the registration desk to complete the purchase, She passed close enough to Dominic's table to hear his sharp intake of breath. "Who the hell was that?" he demanded. "Don't know," Luca said quietly. Nobody saw the number clearly. Maya kept walking, her smile hidden behind her careful mask. At the registration desk, she provided her information and payment details, then slipped out a side entrance before anyone could approach her. The night air hit her face, cool and clean. She pulled out her phone and texted Diana. "Package secured. Ashford neutralized." Her sister's response came immediately. "Perfect. Come home. Time to reveal yourself." But Maya pocketed her phone without responding. She wasn't ready to reveal anything yet. Not until Dominic Ashford understood exactly what he'd done when he'd looked at her and seen nothing worth remembering. Phase 1 complete. He'd remember her soon enough, whether he liked it or not. Monday morning arrived with the kind of grey drizzle that made Manhattan look like a noir film. Dominic stood at his office window on the 42nd floor, phone pressed to his ear, watching the city blur beneath rain-streaked glass. "What do you mean Morrison and Associates is sending someone today?" He turned from the window. "The audit wasn't scheduled until next month." His assistant's voice crackled through the speaker. "They moved it up. Something about the acquisition timeline. The consultant should be arriving." "Mr. Ashford." A woman's voice from his doorway. Dominic ended the call. Turned. The woman from the gala stood in his office. Same grey dress, same cardigan, same unremarkable appearance that had made her so easy to dismiss 3 days ago. Except now she held a leather portfolio stamped with Morrison and Associates logo, and her eyes held something that made his stomach drop. Recognition, amusement, power. "You." The word came out, strangled. "Good morning, Mr. Ashford." Maya Williams stepped into his office like she owned it, which, given the portfolio in her hands, she effectively did for the next 3 weeks. "Should we begin? I understand you have a busy schedule, and I'd hate to waste your valuable time." The emphasis on valuable was so slight, so perfectly professional, that he couldn't call her on it, but they both heard it. "You're the consultant." His mind raced, recalculating. "Morrison sent you." "They did." She settled into the chair across from his desk, crossed her legs, opened her portfolio. "I'll be conducting a comprehensive operational audit. Financial records, strategic planning documents, acquisition targets, internal communications, everything. Everything." The word hung between them like a threat. "I wasn't informed." "Your board authorized it." Maya's smile was pleasant, empty. "You'll find the documentation in your email. I'll need access to your financial systems, your strategic planning files, and your calendar for daily check-ins. Shall we say 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.? Dominic's hands curled into fists at his sides. She had access to everything. Every weakness, every desperate move, every carefully hidden vulnerability in his company's armor. And she was the woman he'd humiliated in public. The woman who'd outbid him on the barley package. The woman he'd called forgettable. "This is highly irregular." He tried to regain control. "I'll need to speak with Morrison directly." "Please do." Maya pulled out a tablet, stylus poised. "Though I should mention that any resistance to the audit process will be noted in my report. The very report that will determine whether Williams International moves forward with acquiring your primary competitor." She looked up, met his eyes. "I'd hate for anything to be misinterpreted as obstruction." The threat was clear. Subtle, professional, devastating. He was trapped. "Fine." The word tasted like ashes. "What do you need?" "Everything, Mr. Ashford." Her smile widened fractionally. "I need everything." By Tuesday, Maya had taken over the conference room adjacent to Dominic's office. Spreadsheets covered every surface. Her laptop displayed financial projections that made his stomach churn. She'd found discrepancies, inefficiencies, a dozen small fires he'd been juggling. She was brilliant. He hated that he'd noticed. "The barley package," she said without looking up from her screen. "They'd been working in tense silence for 3 hours. Interesting that you bid so aggressively." Dominic's jaw tightened. "Market research." She made a note. "I won it, by the way. Paddle 47. He'd suspected. Hearing it confirmed felt like a punch. Congratulations. Thank you. Now she did look at him, and her expression was perfectly pleasant. I'm planning to use it next month. Though if you're interested in purchasing it from me, I'd consider an offer. Hope flared traitorously in his chest. Name your price. $1.5 million. The hope died. That's triple what you paid. Supply and demand, Mr. Ashford. You taught me that. She returned to her laptop. Just yesterday, in fact, when you explained how Ashford Properties determines luxury pricing. I'm simply applying your own principles. She was enjoying this, watching him squirm. And the worst part? He deserved every second of it. I'll think about it, he managed. Of course. Take your time. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, though I should mention that Derek Stone contacted me this morning. He's also interested in the package. Dominic's head snapped up. Stone called you? Offered $2 million, but I told him I'd give you first right of refusal. She paused, smiled. Professional courtesy. It wasn't courtesy. It was warfare. And somehow, impossibly, he found himself wanting to smile back. The late nights started on Wednesday. Dominic looked up from the contract he'd been reviewing to find Maya still at the conference table at 9 p.m., her cardigan discarded over a chair, sleeves rolled up as she worked through another mountain of files. You should go home, he said. So should you. She didn't look up. This is my company, and this is my audit. Now she met his eyes. I don't leave work unfinished, Mr. Ashford. Something in her tone made him study her more carefully. The set of her shoulders. The shadows under her eyes that her makeup didn't quite hide. The way her fingers moved across the keyboard with the kind of precision that came from years of practice. You could call me Dominic, he heard himself say. Since we're apparently living together now. Her lips twitched. Almost a smile. We're not living together. We've spent more waking hours together this week than I've spent with anyone in the past year. That sounds lonely. The observation landed harder than it should have. It's efficient. Efficiency. Maya sat back, studying him. Is that what you call it? What would you call it? Self-imposed isolation. She closed her laptop. You know what I've learned from auditing your company, Dominic? You don't trust anyone. Every major decision flows through you. You've built an empire where you're the single point of failure. That's not true. I have Lucas, your COO, who you override 40% of the time. I pulled the meeting notes. She stood, gathering her things. You're brilliant at what you do, but brilliance doesn't scale if you can't delegate. At some point, you'll either have to trust people or watch everything you've built collapse under its own weight. She headed for the door. Maya. Her first name felt strange on his tongue. She stopped. For what it's worth, I was wrong. At the gala. About what? Specifically. Her voice was cool. The forgettable dress? Or the forgettable woman? Both. He forced himself to hold her gaze. You're clearly neither. No. She opened the door. I'm not. Good night, Dominic. After she left, he sat in the empty office and wondered when exactly he'd lost control of this situation, or if he'd ever had it to begin with. Thursday night, Maya found the scholarship fund. She'd been digging through Ashford Properties' charitable contributions standard audit procedure when she noticed a recurring annual donation of $500,000 to a foundation called Second Chances. The name meant nothing, so she dug deeper. It funded full-ride scholarships for foster children. Kids aging out of the system. Kids with learning disabilities. Kids that the world had written off. The foundation's founder was listed as anonymous donor, but the payment trail led straight back to Dominic's personal accounts. Not the company's, his own money. $500,000 a year. For 10 years. Maya sat back, staring at the screen. This didn't fit. The cold CEO who'd mocked her dress. The ruthless deal-maker who crushed competitors. That man didn't quietly fund scholarships for forgotten kids. Unless he'd once been one of those kids himself. Find something interesting? Dominic's voice made her jump. He'd come back from dinner with investors, tie loosened, exhaustion evident in every line of his body. Second Chances Foundation. She turned the laptop so he could see. $5 million over 10 years. That's not nothing. His expression shuddered. It's a tax write-off. It's deeply personal. Maya stood, moved closer. Kids in foster care. Learning disabilities. These aren't random causes. Drop it. Why? She searched his face. Because it reveals something true about you. Something that doesn't fit the image you've built. You want to audit my company. Fine. His voice went hard. But my personal charitable giving isn't part of your assessment. No, Maya agreed quietly. But it is part of you. They stood 3 feet apart in the empty conference room, city lights glowing through the windows. Something had shifted. Some barrier had cracked. I was 7, Dominic said finally. His voice was barely above a whisper. When they gave me back, Maya went still. The Harrisons, nice couple, big house in Connecticut. They fostered me for 6 months. I thought, he laughed, bitter. I thought they'd keep me, but I wasn't good enough, couldn't read properly. Embarrassed them at school functions, so they gave me back to the system like a defective product. Dominic, I learned something that day. He met her eyes, and the pain there made her breath catch. If you're not perfect, you're disposable. So I became perfect. Perfect grades despite the dyslexia, perfect body, perfect company, perfect everything. His hand trembled as he pulled out his phone, scrolled, showed her a photo. That's them. The Harrisons. Christmas card from last year. 3 adopted kids. None of them me. In the photo, a smiling family gathered around a Christmas tree. Perfect. Beautiful. Complete. Without him, Maya's throat tightened. That's why you fund the scholarships. Someone should tell those kids they're not defective. His voice cracked. Someone should tell them they're worth something, even if they can't read right or act right or be whatever the world thinks they should be. Is that what you thought? That you were defective? I thought exactly what everyone showed me. That I wasn't enough. He looked at her. That's why I said what I said at the gala. When I saw you, I saw someone you could make feel as small as you once felt. The anger she'd been holding for days should have surged, but instead, all Maya felt was aching understanding. You projected your own fears onto me. Yes, simple, devastating. I'm sorry. The apology hung between them. Maya's carefully constructed revenge plan trembled. This was supposed to be simple. He'd humiliated her. She'd destroy him. Clean, satisfying. But nothing about Dominic Ashford was turning out to be simple. I should go, she said. Maya, I'll see you tomorrow, Dominic. 8 a.m. She left before he could see her face, before he could see the crack spreading through her armor, matching the one in his, before she could ask herself why her heart ached for the man she was supposed to hate. Friday morning brought Derek Stone. His hostile takeover bid hit the news at 6 a.m. Ashford Properties stock dropped 8% before the opening bell. By the time Maya arrived at Dominic's office, phones were ringing off the hook, and the conference room had transformed into a war room. He's offering 15% above market value. Lucas stood at the whiteboard, mapping out defenses. It's aggressive, but he's got backing from everyone who wants me out. Dominic's voice was flat. He's been planning this for months. Maya set down her coffee, studying the board. Numbers, timelines, potential allies. It was a good attack. Precisely calculated to exploit every weakness in Dominic's position. What's your counter-strategy? She asked. We don't have one. Dominic met her eyes. Not yet. You have 72 hours before the board votes. Lucas checked his watch. If we don't have a defense by then, we'll have one. Dominic's jaw set. Cancel everything. We work through the weekend. Which meant Maya was working through the weekend. Right here, with him. I'll need access to your strategic planning files, she said. All of them. You'll have them. By Saturday evening, they'd been working for 36 straight hours. Maya's eyes burned. Her back ached from hunching over laptops and spreadsheets. But they had something. Not a complete strategy, but the bones of one. Derek's weakness is his financing, she said, pointing to the screen. He's leveraged to his eyeballs. If you can show the board that his offer isn't as solid as it looks, we need proof. I can get proof." The words were out before she thought them through. Dominic looked at her. "How? That's my problem. Give me until Monday morning." "Maya, trust me." She met his eyes. "Just this once. Trust me." Something passed between them. Understanding. Partnership. The tentative beginnings of something neither could name. "Okay," he said quietly. "I trust you." The dinner meeting Sunday night was supposed to be strategy. Dominic had insisted they needed to maintain appearances, meet with key board members, show confidence. What he hadn't mentioned was that Derek Stone would be there too. Maya felt Derek's eyes on her the moment they entered the restaurant. He sat with two other executives, sharp suit, sharper smile. When Dominic guided Maya toward their own table, Derek stood. "Ashford, I didn't expect to see you here." His gaze slid to Maya, dismissive. "And you brought your secretary. How quaint." The words were carefully chosen. Secretary, not colleague, not consultant. A deliberate diminishment. Maya felt Dominic tense beside her. "Actually," Dominic's voice cut like glass, "this is Maya Williams. She's conducting an operational audit of Ashford Properties, and she's the smartest person in this room, so I'd suggest you show her the respect she's earned." The restaurant went quiet. Derek's smile froze. The executives at his table exchanged glances. Maya stared at Dominic. He was defending her, publicly, after everything. "My apologies," Derek said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "Miss Williams, I wasn't aware Morrison and Associates had assigned such capable consultants." The pause before "capable" said everything. Maya opened her mouth to respond, but Dominic's hand found the small of her back, protective, possessive. "We should get to our table," he said. "Enjoy your evening, Stone." They sat across the restaurant. Maya's heart hammered. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." Dominic met her eyes. "I know what it's like to be dismissed, to have people look at you and decide you're not worth their time. I won't watch someone do that to you, even though you did exactly that, especially because I did." His hand covered hers on the table. "I'm trying to be better, Maya. I don't know if I can be, but I'm trying." The walk back to the office afterward was quiet. Rain had started again, soft and steady. They shared an umbrella, shoulders brushing, neither speaking. The elevator was empty. 42 floors of silence and proximity, and something building between them like pressure before a storm. At the 38th floor, Maya felt it snap. She turned. So did he. Their eyes met. Dominic's hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheek. Maya, she could feel his breath, see the want in his eyes that probably matched her own. "We can't." But she didn't move away. "I know. You work for me, technically. And I've already—" "I know." His forehead touched hers. "I've already disrespected you once. I won't do it again by crossing a line you haven't clearly said I can cross." The elevator doors opened on 42. Neither moved. Dominic. His name on her lips was question and answer both. "When this is over," he said quietly. "When you've finished the audit. When you're not working for me anymore. Ask me then." "Ask you what?" "If I still see you. If I still want this." His thumb traced her jaw. "Because the answer will be yes." He stepped back. The moment broke. Maya walked out of the elevator on shaking legs and didn't look back until she reached her car. Only then did she let herself feel it, the wanting, the confusion, the terrifying realization that her perfect revenge plan had just become impossibly complicated. Monday morning, Maya's phone rang at 6 a.m. Diana's voice was sharp. "You have 1 week. I'm in the middle of... Dad's getting worse. The doctors say he has days, maybe weeks." Her sister's voice cracked, just slightly. "We need you home, Maya. We need you to step up. This consultant game is over." Maya sat up in bed, heart pounding. "Diana, 1 week. Finish the audit, submit your report, and come home. Or, I'm recommending the board replace you as co-heir." The threat was clear. You can't hide forever. The call ended. Maya stared at her phone. 7 days. That's all she had left. 7 days to decide. Revenge or redemption. Destroy Dominic Ashford, or save him. 7 days to figure out which choice she could live with. Tuesday, Dominic's assistant knocked on the conference room door at noon. There's a priority call. Your legal team needs to speak with you. Dominic stepped out. Maya continued working through acquisition files, but her mind was elsewhere. 1 week. Her father dying. The company waiting. And Dominic Ashford, who was becoming less like a target and more like... She stopped that thought cold. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Background check complete. See attached. Maya opened the attachment. Her stomach dropped. It was her. Every detail of her real identity laid bare. Maya Williams, co-heir to Williams International. Net worth, education. The leaked photos from 2 years ago, everything. A second message appeared. Thought you should know. Your cover's blown. Lucas. Dominic's COO had figured it out, which meant Dominic would know within the hour. Maya's hands trembled as she closed her laptop. She'd planned this moment, rehearsed it, the big reveal where she held all the power. But this wasn't how it was supposed to happen. The conference room door slammed open. Dominic stood in the doorway, phone in hand, face white with shock and something that looked like betrayal. Who the hell are you? His voice shook. Maya Williams. Not just any consultant. Williams International, your competition. She stood, met his eyes. Yes. You've been lying to me. This whole time. He moved into the room like a predator, and she saw the exact moment understanding hit. The audit. Morrison and Associates. This was all research. Her voice stayed level even as her pulse hammered. I needed to know my competition. Competition. He laughed, sharp and bitter. I humiliated you at a gala, called you forgettable, and you what? Decided to destroy my company as payback? I decided to see if you deserve to be destroyed. Maya pulled off her cardigan, let it fall. Let him see her properly for the first time the athletic build her shapeless clothes had hidden. And you know what I found? A man so desperate to appear perfect that he can't see anyone else clearly, including me. You lied about who you were. I never lied. She moved closer. I told you exactly who I was. Maya Williams, consultant, here to evaluate your company. Everything I said was true. You just never bothered to ask the right questions. Because you were hiding. I was hiding the same way you hide your dyslexia. The same way you hide your scholarship fund. The same way you hide every vulnerable part of yourself behind expensive suits and ruthless deals. Her voice rose. Don't you dare stand there and judge me for doing exactly what you've been doing your entire life. The words hit like bullets. Dominic stepped back, hand bracing against the conference table. Williams International, he said quietly. You're evaluating whether to acquire Jameson Properties, my main competitor. If you recommend the acquisition, you're finished. She finished the thought. Boxed out of every major market. Your company becomes irrelevant within 2 years. And you hold that decision. His eyes searched hers. You've held it this entire time. Yes, while I told you about the Harrisons, about being disposable, about... His voice cracked. Was any of it real, or was I just another data point in your research? Maya wanted to lie. It would be easier, cleaner. But something in his face, the raw pain, the desperate hope, stopped her. It was real, she said quietly. All of it. I came here planning to bury you, Dominic. I was going to recommend the acquisition, watch you lose everything, and call it justice for what you said at that gala. She moved closer. But then I found the scholarships, and I sat across from you for 18-hour days and saw how hard you work. And I watched you defend me to Derek Stone when you had every reason to let him humiliate me the way you had. Maya, I submitted my report this morning. She pulled out her phone, showed him the email timestamp. Before I knew you'd found out about me, my recommendation was neutral. Don't pursue the acquisition. Let Ashford Properties stand on its own merits. He stared at the screen. You were going to save me. I was going to give you a fair chance. She met his eyes. The one you never gave me. And now? Now you know who I am. The woman you called forgettable is the heiress who could have ended you. Maya grabbed her bag, her laptop. I hope that keeps you up at night, Dominic. I hope every time you look at someone and make a snap judgment, you remember this moment. Remember what it cost you. What did it cost me? He moved to block the door. Tell me, Maya, what exactly did I lose? The chance to see me clearly before everything got complicated. Her voice broke, just slightly. The chance to meet me as equals, instead of adversaries. We're meeting as equals now. No. She pushed past him. Now we're meeting as the woman who saved you, and the man who's trying to figure out if he's grateful or furious. And I don't have time to watch you work through that. Where are you going? Maya stopped at the door, turned back. Let him see her, truly see her for the first time. Her natural hair pinned up, the curve of muscle in her arms, the exhaustion and anger and unwanted affection warring in her expression. Home, she said. To bury my father and take over the company I was born to run. The one you never bothered to ask about. She left him standing in the conference room, surrounded by the evidence of 3 weeks of work, and didn't look back. Outside his building, rain poured down in sheets. Maya stood on the sidewalk, let it soak through her grey dress, wash away the last pretense of being forgettable. Her phone buzzed. Come home. Now. Another buzz. Shanice, her assistant. The board's calling an emergency meeting. Your presence requested. A third buzz. Unknown number. I can still see you. Even now. Especially now. Maya deleted the last message without responding. And this is where everything changes. Because what happens next will either destroy them both or force them to confront the truth they've been hiding from each other. Here's my question. Is revenge ever really worth it? Let me know in the comments. She had 1 week to decide her future. 1 week to figure out if Dominic Ashford was someone worth saving, or someone she needed to finally, completely, forget. The Plaza Ballroom looked exactly as Maya remembered. Crystal chandeliers, old money, new ambition. 3 weeks had passed since that first humiliation, but it felt like years. She stood in the hotel bathroom, staring at her reflection. The grey dress hung on a hanger behind her. The wig sat on the counter. For 3 weeks, she'd worn armor. Tonight, she was done hiding. Her phone buzzed. Diana, Dad's asking for you. Hurry. Maya's hands trembled as she typed back. On my way. After the gala. Another message. This one from Derek Stone. Final offer. $2B joint venture. All you have to do is stay quiet tonight. Let me finish, Ashford. Deal closes at midnight. $2 billion. The partnership Williams International needed. All she had to do was nothing. Let Dominic Ashford fall. Her phone buzzed again. He's losing everything. The board voted. Derek's takeover succeeds Friday unless we find a miracle. I know what he did to you, but he's not the same man who walked into that gala 3 weeks ago. Maya set down her phone, opened her garment bag. Tonight, she'd show them all exactly who she was. 4 days earlier, Dominic had sat in Lucas's office, staring at quarterly reports that might as well have been obituaries. The vote's Friday, Lucas said quietly. Derek has the numbers. Without a counteroffer, you lose the company. I know. Do you? Lucas leaned forward. Because you're sitting here like you've already given up. Where's the fighter? The guy who built this company from nothing? He's tired, Lucas. Dominic's voice was hollow. He's tired of fighting alone. You're not alone. You have me. You have the team. I had Maya. The words cracked open something raw, and I lost her by being exactly what I swore I'd never become. Someone who judges people without seeing them. Someone who makes others feel disposable. Lucas was quiet for a moment. The Harrisons. I became them, Dominic laughed bitterly. That family that gave me back because I wasn't good enough. I did the same thing to Maya, looked at her surface, and decided she wasn't worth my time. And she was. His voice broke. She was everything. So tell her that. She won't take my calls, won't answer emails. I went to her hotel she'd checked out. Dominic ran his hands through his hair. She's gone, Lucas. And I deserve it. Maybe. Lucas stood, moved to the window. But here's what I know about people who've been through what you've been through. We spend our whole lives trying to prove we're not disposable. Building walls so high nobody can reject us again. And then someone sees through those walls, and we panic. We push them away first, before they can leave. I didn't push her away. I never even let her in. Exactly. Lucas turned. You judged her before she had a chance to hurt you. It was safer, cleaner. He paused. But safe and clean doesn't build anything real, Dom. It just keeps you isolated. Dominic looked at his best friend, the one person who'd stuck by him through everything. When did you get so wise? Around the time I watched you fall for a woman you were too stubborn to admit you wanted. Lucas smiled sadly. She saved you, you know. That neutral recommendation. She could have buried you. Instead, she gave you a chance. A chance I wasted. Not yet. Lucas pulled out his phone. The gala's Saturday. Same venue where this all started. She'll be there. Williams International is a major sponsor. She won't want to see me. Probably not. Lucas headed for the door. But that's never stopped you before. Find a way to make this right, Dom. Before Friday. Before you lose everything that actually matters. After Lucas left, Dominic sat alone in his office and thought about second chances. About the family that had given him back. About the woman he'd dismissed without a second glance. About becoming someone worth remembering. Mount Sinai Hospital at midnight was quiet except for machines and whispered prayers. Maya held her father's hand, watching his chest rise and fall with mechanical assistance. I messed up, Dad. Her voice cracked. I went to New York to prove I could handle the business world, to show Diana and the board that I wasn't just the baby sister hiding behind consultant work, and instead, She stopped. Started again. I met someone, and he hurt me. Not physically, but Maya squeezed her father's hand. He looked at me and saw nothing, and it brought back everything from 2 years ago. When those photos leaked and suddenly everyone saw my body instead of my brain. So I hid, covered myself up, made sure nobody could see anything that mattered. The machines beeped steadily. But hiding doesn't work, does it? Tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. Because being a black woman in those rooms, Dad, I had to be twice as covered up just to be taken half as seriously. I couldn't wear anything fitted, couldn't show my natural hair. Had to be so careful, so modest, so professional that I disappeared completely. She laughed wetly. And then someone called me forgettable, and I realized I'd made myself forgettable on purpose. I was so busy protecting myself from being objectified that I forgot how to be seen at all. He wasn't wrong then. Maya spun. Dominic stood in the doorway, holding flowers, looking like he'd aged a decade in 4 days. What are you doing here? Her voice shook with anger and something dangerously close to relief. Your assistant told me where you were. He set the flowers on a chair, kept his distance. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but... He swallowed hard. I heard what you said. About hiding. About having to be twice as covered up. You had no right. You're absolutely right. He moved closer, slowly, like approaching something wild. I had no right to listen, no right to come here, no right to any of your time or attention. But Maya, his voice cracked, I need you to know something. She crossed her arms, waited. I've spent my entire life hiding too, Dominic said quietly. The dyslexia, the foster care, every single thing that made me vulnerable. I built this perfect image because I thought, if I could just be flawless enough, nobody could reject me. Nobody could call me defective and send me back. He looked at her father, then back at Maya. But that's not living. That's just existing inside a cage you built yourself. And you think I don't know that? I think you know it better than anyone. He took another step. I think you've been fighting the same battle I have. Trying to be seen without being vulnerable. Trying to prove your worth without risking rejection. His eyes held hers. I think that's why I couldn't see you clearly. Because you were showing me exactly what I show the world, a careful, protected surface. And I was too busy hiding myself to recognize someone doing the same thing. Maya felt something crack in her chest. That doesn't excuse what you said. No, he agreed immediately. Nothing excuses it. But maybe, he paused, maybe we were both so busy wearing armor that we couldn't recognize each other underneath it. Her father's machines beeped. In the hallway, footsteps passed. The moment stretched between them. Derek made me an offer, Maya said finally. $2 billion, joint venture with Williams International. All I have to do is let him destroy you Friday. Dominic's face went pale, but he nodded. That's a good offer. It is. You should take it. Should I? She moved closer. The man who humiliated me loses everything. Perfect revenge. Exactly what I came to New York for. Yes. His voice was steady even as his hands trembled. Take it, Maya. Save your company. Your father needs you to be strong, to make smart business decisions. Don't let whatever this was between us cloud your judgment. Whatever this was. Her voice rose. You don't get to diminish it now. Not after. She stopped, breathed. You defended me to Derek Stone. You trusted me with your company's secrets. You told me about the Harrisons, and you saved me even after I hurt you. He took her hand carefully, like it might break. That's who you are, Maya. Someone who sees past the surface to what matters. Don't lose that because of me. She pulled her hand back. Get out. Maya. Get out, Dominic. I have a decision to make, and I can't think with you here telling me to destroy you like some kind of martyr. Her eyes blazed. You don't get to make this easy. You don't get to give me permission. If I take Derek's offer, it won't be because you told me to. It'll be because that's what's best for my company. Understand? He nodded slowly, started to leave, stopped at the door. For what it's worth, he said without turning around. I see you now, Maya Williams. All of you. And you're extraordinary. After he left, Maya sat with her father in the dark and cried. Saturday night, the Plaza Hotel, full circle. Maya arrived alone at 7, an hour before the gala officially started. She needed the time, needed the space to prepare for what came next. In the bathroom, she transformed. The gown was deep burgundy silk, fitted perfectly to show every curve she'd hidden for 3 weeks. Halter neck, open back, a slit-up one thigh, the kind of dress that demanded attention, that refused to be ignored. She'd left her locks down, styled in thick ropes with gold cuffs that caught the light. No wig, no protective styling, just her natural hair, unapologetic and beautiful. And for the first time in public, her tattoo sleeve was fully visible, intricate abstract art flowing into African Adinkra symbols, and running up her left arm, a phoenix rising from ashes in vibrant oranges and reds. Maya stared at her reflection. The woman looking back was someone she barely recognized. Someone powerful, whole, unafraid. Someone worth remembering. She walked into the ballroom at exactly 8 p.m. The effect was immediate. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Champagne glasses froze halfway to lips. Every eye in the room turned toward her. Maya Williams, in all her glory, had arrived. She saw Dominic near the bar, surrounded by his usual crowd, watched him turn, watched his face go slack with shock. He took a step toward her and stumbled, catching himself on a nearby table. The gown hugged curves he'd never known existed, revealing the body of an athlete, powerful, feminine, unapologetic. Her locs fell in thick ropes down her bare back, adorned with gold cuffs that caught the light. But it was the tattoos that mesmerized him, intricate symbols flowing into a phoenix rising up her arm, art that told stories he'd never bothered to ask about. She'd been hiding a masterpiece, and he'd called her forgettable. Maya walked through the crowd like Moses parting the Red Sea. People stepped back, whispered, stared. She felt their eyes, their judgment, their sudden realization that they'd all missed something vital. Let them look. Let them see what they'd been too blind to notice. She reached the stage where the evening's announcements were scheduled. The master of ceremonies tried to stop her, but she simply smiled and took the microphone from his hand. Good evening. Her voice carried across the ballroom, amplified and clear. I'm Maya Williams, Some of you may remember me from the last gala here. I wore a grey dress, very modest, very forgettable. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Dominic stood frozen 30 feet away, face pale. Tonight, I'm here representing Williams International, my family's company. We're pleased to announce a $5 million donation to the Children's Literacy Foundation. Applause. She waited for it to fade. But before we continue with tonight's festivities, I want to address something personal. The room went silent. 3 weeks ago, a man at this very event called me forgettable. Maya's eyes found Dominic. He judged me by a dress, by a first impression, by what he could see on the surface. He decided, in 5 seconds, that I wasn't worth his time or attention. Dominic's hands clenched at his sides. Around him, people were putting the pieces together, recognizing him, recognizing the story. He never bothered to ask my name, my story, what I could offer beyond how I looked that night. Her voice remained steady, and I spent 3 weeks planning my revenge, because that's what you do when someone makes you feel invisible, right? You make sure they never forget you. She set down the microphone, removed her earrings. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter, but in the silence, everyone heard. But here's what I learned. We're all guilty of this. Judging books by covers, seeing what we expect instead of what's really there, making snap decisions about people's worth based on clothes, appearance, whether they fit our narrow definition of valuable. She looked around the room. How many brilliant minds have we dismissed? How many extraordinary people have we made feel forgettable because they didn't look the way we thought they should? Derek Stone stood near the back, smirking. He thought this was his victory, Maya, exposing Dominic, setting up Derek's takeover. He had no idea what was coming. So tonight, I'm making a different choice. Maya picked up the microphone again. Williams International is entering into a strategic partnership with Ashford Properties, effective immediately. We're combining our Southeast Asian acquisitions, sharing resources, and blocking any hostile takeover attempts. The room erupted. Derek's smirk vanished. His investors turned on him, voices rising in anger and confusion. Dominic stood absolutely still, eyes locked on Maya. Because sometimes revenge isn't about destruction, she continued over the chaos. It's about proving that you were wrong to underestimate me. Wrong to think I was forgettable. Wrong to believe that how someone looks tells you anything about who they are. She paused. Mr. Ashford, I hope you remember this moment. I hope every time you meet someone new, you think twice before judging them. I hope you learned what I learned, that the most extraordinary things are often hidden beneath the most ordinary surfaces. She set down the microphone, started to walk off stage. Maya, wait. Dominic's voice carried across the ballroom. He was moving through the crowd, pushing past investors and board members and everyone who wanted to congratulate or question or stop him. He reached the stage, looked up at her, and the entire ballroom watched as Dominic Ashford, Billionaire CEO, notorious Iceman, dropped to one knee. Not a proposal, a supplication. Maya Williams from Cabin 7, he said, voice shaking. Who could hold her breath underwater longer than anyone, who always beat me in the swimming races, even though I was taller, who drew phoenixes because they rise from ashes, and who told me that being different wasn't the same as being broken. Maya's breath caught. Around them, confusion rippled through the crowd. 20 years ago, you were my only friend at that camp, the only person who saw past the foster kid who couldn't read right. You drew on my arm with marker stars and moons, and I drew this on yours. His hand reached up, hovering over her phoenix tattoo, but not touching. I promised you I'd remember you always, that we'd find each other when we grew up. That I'd never forget you. Tears streamed down Maya's face. Dominic. And then I called you forgettable. His voice cracked. The one person who promised to always remember me forgot. Worse than forgot. I looked at you and saw nothing, because I'd become exactly what I hated, someone who judges people by surfaces, who decides worth in 5 seconds, who makes others feel as disposable as I once felt. He pulled something from his pocket, a photograph, worn and faded. Two kids at summer camp, arms around each other, grinning at the camera. One pudgy black girl with missing front teeth. One skinny white boy with a learning disability. I found this in my storage unit. After you left, I'd forgotten about it, forgotten about you, and I have no right to ask for anything. He looked up at her, tears matching hers. But Maya, I'd like the chance to remember everything about you properly this time. Not the consultant, not the heiress, not the woman in the red dress. Just you. Maya, my friend, the person who saw me when no one else did. The ballroom had gone absolutely silent. Even Derek Stone stood frozen, watching. Maya looked down at Dominic, powerful, broken, trying so hard to be better. She thought about revenge, about the satisfaction of watching him grovel, about everything she'd planned. And she thought about that little girl at swim camp who'd made a friend, who'd promised to remember, who'd believed in phoenixes and second chances. She made him stand up. You don't kneel to me, she said firmly. We're equals, or we're nothing. His face crumpled with relief and hope and fear. Maya offered her hand. Start with remembering my name. Then maybe we'll see if you can remember the rest. He took her hand carefully. Maya Williams. Good start. She squeezed once, then let go. But you've got a lot more remembering to do before we're even close to okay. I know. He smiled slightly. I've got time. Do you? She raised an eyebrow. Because I'm pretty sure you have a company to save. Partnership paperwork to sign. A hostile takeover to fend off. Right. He laughed, surprising himself. Right. Work. Always work first, Dominic. But her voice was softer now. That's something you need to remember, too. She walked past him, off the stage, leaving him standing in front of 300 stunned guests. Diana appeared at Maya's elbow, eyes wide. Did you just save his company, expose his cruelty, and set boundaries all at once? Maya took a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. Yes, I did. And the childhood connection. That was real. Every word. Maya sipped her champagne, watching Dominic get swarmed by his team and investors. We made promises, Diana, 20 years ago. And then life happened. And we forgot. She set down her glass. But I'm done forgetting who I am. Done hiding. Done being forgettable. You were never forgettable, little sister. Diana hugged her. You were just too busy protecting yourself to let anyone see you properly. Not anymore. Maya glanced back at Dominic one more time. He was looking at her even as Lucas whispered urgently in his ear. Their eyes met across the crowded ballroom. She didn't smile, didn't wave, just held his gaze for 3 seconds that felt like forever. Then she turned and walked away. He'd have to chase her if he wanted more. And this time, she'd make sure he knew exactly who he was chasing. 1 week later, Maya sat in Dominic's office, now jointly owned by Ashford Properties and Williams International, reviewing partnership contracts. The door opened. She looked up. Dominic stopped short. You're wearing my consultant clothes. Maya gestured to her grey dress and cardigan. Is that a problem? No, He set down his briefcase. I thought you said you were done hiding. I'm not hiding. She stood, smoothed her dress. I'm choosing. Some days I'll wear power suits. Some days I'll wear that red dress. Today I'm wearing this because it's comfortable and I'm buried in paperwork. She met his eyes. The question is, can you see me regardless of what I'm wearing? He studied her. Not the dress, not the surface, but her eyes, her posture, the careful way she held herself. I see you, Maya, he said quietly. Finally. He moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, see the exhaustion under his eyes from a week of 18-hour days saving his company. Their company now. Maya. His voice dropped low, rough. She put a finger against his lips. Not yet. Not yet? Disappointment flashed across his face. You're going to have to remember a lot more first. She smiled slightly. Starting with what my favorite food was at that camp. He grinned. The expression transformed his face, making him look younger, lighter. S'mores. Extra marshmallow, barely toasted. You're learning. I am. He caught her hand, the one still touching his lips, and pressed a kiss to her palm. What else do you want me to remember? Everything. She pulled back gently. My favorite color. My cabin number. The song we sang at the talent show. The reason I was at that camp in the first place. Her voice softened. Remember me, Dominic. Not the consultant, not the heiress. Me. The girl who saw you. The woman who saved you. The person standing in front of you right now. Cabin 7, he said immediately. Your favorite color was purple, not bright purple, but deep, like twilight. We sang Under the Sea from The Little Mermaid, and you forgot the words halfway through, but kept going anyway. He stepped closer. And you were at camp because your mother had just died, and your father thought you needed space to grieve away from the business. You told me that late one night when we snuck down to the lake. You said you felt like you were drowning and nobody could see you struggling. Maya's breath caught. You remember? I'm remembering, he corrected gently. Give me time, and I'll remember everything. She looked at him, really looked, and saw the boy from camp underneath, the CEO's facade. Saw the friend who'd understood her. Saw the man trying desperately to be worthy of a second chance. Okay, she said finally. Time. You've got time. How much time? As long as it takes. She picked up her briefcase. But Dominic? Don't waste it. Don't hide behind work or perfection or any of the armor you've built. If we're doing this, if we're even trying, I need you to be real with me. Always. I can do that. He walked her to the door. Maya? She turned back. Thank you, he said, for seeing me, for saving me, for giving me another chance to get this right. Don't thank me yet. But she smiled. You haven't passed the rest of my tests. There are more tests? So many tests. She laughed at his expression. Better start studying, Ashford. She left him standing in the doorway, a small smile playing at her lips. Behind her, she heard Lucas's voice. You're smiling. That's new. She gave me a chance, Dominic said. She gave you homework, Lucas corrected. Don't screw it up. Maya walked to the elevator, still smiling. Her phone buzzed. Diana, Dad's asking about the partnership, and about that boy from camp. How does he know? Another message. P.S. He's grinning. I think he planned this whole thing. Maya laughed out loud. Her father, even unconscious, always 3 steps ahead. A final message. This one from Dominic. Question 2. What did we promise to do when we grew up? Besides find each other. She typed back. We promised to build something beautiful. Something that would make kids like us feel less alone. You started with the scholarships. I think we're just getting started. His response was immediate. When you're ready, and only when you're ready, I'd like to build that with you. Not as business partners. As the friends we were supposed to be. As the people we're trying to become. Maya stood in the elevator, reading his message 3 times. Not a declaration of love. Not a promise of happily ever after. Just an offer, a partnership, a chance to build something real. She didn't respond immediately. Let him wait. Let him wonder. But as the elevator descended and the city spread out before her, Maya Williams, heiress, consultant, survivor, Phoenix Rising, smiled. Because for the first time in 2 years, she wasn't hiding. And for the first time in 20 years, someone was actually seeing her. Dominic Ashford had called her forgettable. But she'd made damn sure he'd never forget her again. Do you think Maya should give Dominic a real second chance? Or should some betrayals be unforgivable? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to see what happens next between these two, hit that subscribe button, because their story is just getting started.